Man, we lose a lot of celebrity prognosticators.
Yep.
It's one of
So
the
sad.
it's one of the world's most dangerous jobs.
Is it cursed? How many have we lost? How many? Norm Macdonald passed away. It was a surprise to many. He had kept his illness a secret for 9 years.
Is that the way Alan Thicke started with us as a celebrity prognosticator? No?
No, he didn't start that way, but he ended that way. He was the reigning celebrity prognosticator when he passed away. Made me cry in my bathroom.
Are we cursed? Are we haunted? Because Super Dave Osborne, Bob Einstein, was one of the greatest friends this show has ever had. And we've had these moments. Gene Okerlund has passed away. It's a byproduct of the show being almost 20 years old.
Bob Einstein refused to be celebrity prognosticator again because he found out that there was a curse associated with celebrity prognosticator.
Oh, boy.
Do you have any of that sound of him yelling at us? You guys had the strangest, most wonderful relationship with Bob Einstein, where you would have all sorts of conversations with him off air, where he refused to come on air because he said celebrity prognosticator was cursed, and then he died anyway, and now Norm Macdonald is gone too, and he was one of our favorite celebrity prognosticators.
We're all going to die, Dan.
Yeah, but I mean,
wow,
these
that
are
ranks
really
as among the most useless things.
Well,
he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but usually it's not immediately following a benchmark on a popular radio show. Abdullah the Butcher, another celebrity prognosticator that passed away quite recently after he appeared on our show.
You know what they say about Father Time, Dan, right? Undefeated.
Except for Tom Brady.
That's right. Good point.
Yes, Stugotz, we're all going to die. Make that the
Mike has me dying in under 15 years. I mean,
Except Jeff Bezos.
yeah, he's not going to die. The subject line on this hour should be "We're all going to die." See if we can get some clicks.
I mean, now that we think about it, like everyone that participates in Celebrity Prognosticator is going to die.
Correct.
That's not why it would be cursed. But one of the things that Chris was saying when we were talking about the sadness of Norm Macdonald passing away, that we've all almost died, that we probably all have a story. I almost have a story of literally being hit by a bus, where you guys can say, it could have come close to saying Dan Le Batard died. He was hit by a bus.
Bettis? What? No.
While we think of our near-death stories, let's play Bob Einstein leaving a voicemail for Allison Turner, our guest booker, who was chasing him to be our celebrity prognosticator again for years. But he refused because of the presumed curse around the segment.
Yeah, I called you back. I tried 3 times calling me with those stupid questions. But here's the thing. I would love to answer those questions because I would have a lot of fun, but I like living. It's one of my favorite things to do. Get up, breathe the air, have some breakfast. If I'm working, I work. If I'm not, I'm not. That's all. It's very simple. It's black and white. I don't like to bring color into this, but it's simple. And too many people have died.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Didn't you almost crash a hot air balloon into a rhino on your honeymoon?
Yes, but that wasn't actually a near-death experience. We landed softly enough, and it was near rhino poop, not near the rhino. That would have been a lot worse.
I can't tell you how many times I was sitting outside of an LA Fitness on a 3-way call with Bob Einstein, just telling me jokes that he had. Well, I could tell you, it was probably like 3 times. It wasn't like a countless number of times. But
They were all good jokes, though, correct?
some of them were repeated jokes that I had heard, like the week before. But
you
yeah.
laughed like you were hearing it for
Oh
the first
no,
time.
it was incredible. You know how many times he insulted me, told me my ideas were stupid? It was so great.
This brings me to Norm Macdonald, because he did awkward comedy, uncomfortable comedy so very well. He would insult people to their face. There has not been and will never be a greater ESPYs than Norm Macdonald doing the monologue and actually cutting through all the mythological fame bullshit and actually going after people, going after the big, powerful celebrities in a way that the audience loved, and ESPN immediately ended and regretted and got him out of there, never to host it again. But he loved Awkward. He was so good at Awkward, and this is the thing that always impresses me, Stugotz, because the level of discerning among stand-up comics who are great is the highest form of critique or judgment, I think, in entertainment. And when they say someone's a good comedian, that person's a good comedian. Norm Macdonald is somebody who's getting reverence today from a lot of people, but other comedians will tell you what he did was really brilliant, was genius. We had our experience with him because he would tell these long, sprawling stories, and he told, most famously, a bad beat story that was just a killer because he was a gambler, but he was a bad gambler. And one of the reasons we wanted him as celebrity prognosticator is because he cared about it, but he was kind of a loser. And what says loser more than this bad beat?
One time I had a massive bet down. It was my last bet. I just said, I'll just bet all this. And then I got 2 aces. And and then I was like, I don't know if I have enough money, but can I get some credit, like from the casino to bet on this other ace? And they're like, no. And I'm like, does anyone else want to buy an ace? No, but everyone else there was betting small.
You were at a $5 table.
No, I don't like the what the hell? I'm watching the draft.
What? Nor what?
I was just watching the draft.
Okay. All right.
So, anyways, my 2 aces, I go, hit me. I have 2. You know what I mean? So I have to hit. So I have an ace and an ace. It's a 2. So I hit it.
Oh, no.
Because you couldn't split it. Here come the face cards.
12. 22.
Oh.
So as obviously I would have had 2 21s. Instead I have 1 22.
Mike, I'm pretty sure I have this right. It was not draft day. It was like 6 months after the draft. Norm was doing that as an audio joke. Do you have a date on when that sound was from?
It was also in the morning. I mean,
he was
not
watching an old draft on one of the sport dedicated channels, either NBA TV or NFL Network.
I think he put it up as a prop. I think because he was on a sports show, he just wanted the interruption, the loudness, because he loved Awkward so much. We talked to him about the ESPYs. I'm telling you, there's never been a crueler or cooler monologue than the one this guy did at the ESPYs because of how uncomfortable he made an assortment of people.
Who was most upset with you after that night?
Ken Griffey Jr.
Really?
Did he say something?
Yeah, they told me, like after the show, they were, there's this big party, and they were always like, all through the show, this party's going to be great. And then at the end, I go, where's that party? And they're like, I probably should just go back to the
hotel. That's how you learned that you were not invited to Ken Griffey Jr.'s party?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you remember most about that night? Is there one joke that you're particularly proud of? And you tend to be someone who doesn't, you don't do a lot of reveling in the past. You move on. But is there anything in particular that you are proud of there?
Well, Woodson won the Heisman that year.
It's a good joke.
And so I said, they could never take that away from you unless you kill your wife and a waiter.
It's so good, man. It's such a good joke. It really is. I was laughing because a lot of people were sending out video. He's funny across the decades. The bit that he did on Steve Irwin, the Crocodile Hunter, 10 days after his death, like walking the tightrope of too soon, but he did the joke so deftly, so well. He's like, imagine that. He died. Crocodile Hunter. Killed by a fish. All the other crocodiles super mad. Like, did it deftly. I'm not doing it justice. The idea that he would be 10 days after someone's death. It was a beloved time.
Yes.
Everybody was still mourning that death, and he was able to do that joke deftly.
He had so many great bits, and with him passing, I was reminded of a lot of these all-timers. His monologue on SNL a year and a half after he was fired from SNL, he came back and hosted, and he's like, they fired me on the grounds that I wasn't funny enough, which at any other company would be an HR violation, but here, they kind of got you. And only a year and a half has passed. I didn't get funnier. The show's just that much worse. And I'm not even going to begin to try to retell his story, his joke that he did on Conan O'Brien, but it's one of the greatest commitments to a bit I have ever seen. I did not get Norm Macdonald when I was younger watching SNL.
Neither did I.
I didn't like him. And then 10 years later, one of my favorite all-time comedians. He is fearless. He goes into sets with the thinking, I want to bomb here. I want to be so unfunny that it's funny, and I can pull it off. And he was one of the only people to ever do that. Comedian, respected and loved by all. A huge loss.
I am reading tributes here on Twitter from the likes of Steve Martin. You're right, like comedian, and they're all talking about the genius of Norm Macdonald. Like he was funny, but the genius that goes behind him being funny it's pretty remarkable.
Give me
to read.
all the others. Give me all the others that you've known to sink into the discomforts and to make unfunny funny by just staring you in the face and daring you to not find it funny, not in any way bothered. I never saw on him a discomfort around the discomforts he would create, but I believe that when comedians admire him, it's from there. Oh, this dude just sits there staring at you and doesn't need the rhythms of when I say this word this way, I wait because I know laughter's coming because I've gotten so good at the sculpting of this. No, he'd reverse engineer it. He'd sit there and be like, no, that wasn't funny. And look, I'm going to stare at you and you're going to stare at me and it's going to become funny because I'm just going to sit in how bad that joke was.
If you get it as an audience, great. If I make you laugh along the way, awesome. But I'm really in it to make myself and my peers laugh. And no one made fellow comedians laugh harder behind the curtain than Norm Macdonald. And we've always talked about why can't someone do the sports show well? It wasn't necessarily supported, but his sports show on Comedy Central was really great. Would DVR that show weekly. He was just an absolute gem.
Kept it quiet somehow during the celebrity age because one of the things that lands with eulogies that are filled with hosannas is how surprised are you? And I believe that what happened yesterday ends up spreading because nobody had any idea. It was something that he was able to keep a secret in Hollywood in a gossipy circle of people for a really long time.
And he even had a poignant bit on cancer. Don't say that I lost a battle to cancer, because the cancer dies with me. That's a draw.
It is. It's a tie. Don't make me a loser in the afterlife. He deserves what he's getting today and yesterday in terms of praise to God's because of what it is that I'm telling you. We're the most discerning of the entertainment communities, the people willing to be brave enough to make a career, to God's out of standing in front of a microphone with the expectation of laughter and knowing how to make you laugh, which is a medicine that can pay millions of dollars with the guys who do it well. The comedians in this industry. There wasn't a one who didn't genuflect, right? There wasn't a one out there among the bigs, among the people you were hearing from who was saying anything other than Norm Macdonald is one of the best to ever do it. I wonder if the audience receives him that way, though.
In the next hour, I'm going to play the greatest joke you've ever heard.
Wow.
That's a tease.
What the greatest Norm Macdonald joke ever.
Is it the Moth Joke?
No, it's when he went on Conan and decided to just go in it for himself. And it was just a great insight into how hard he would make other comedians laugh and his whole bit. He was great, man.
My strongest material comes from real life.
Real life?
Like, for instance, today I was driving in a car. You were kind enough to bring a car to bring this old chunk of coal here to the studio.
We send cards for our guests, yes.
Yeah, so I got in it, and I get material that way. So my driver...
What do you mean? How do you get material that way? You get in the car, and what happens?
My driver tells me a joke.
The driver we sent to pick you up told you a joke?
Yeah.
And you're going to tell it now on the show?
Yeah, that's how I get a lot of my material.
Okay. Why don't we just have him on next time?
That guy... that guy... No, wait till you hear me do it. So the guy, he goes, I say, I'll be the guy.
Okay.
A moth goes into a podiatrist's office.
A moth goes into a podiatrist's office. All right.
You are correct. A moth goes into a podiatrist's office, and the podiatrist's office says, "What's the problem?" And the moth says, "What's the problem? Where do I begin, man?" He goes, "I go to work for Gregory Olinovich, and all day long I work." Honestly, Doc, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I don't even know if Gregory Olinovich knows. He only knows that he has power over me, and that seems to bring him happiness. But I don't know. I wake up in a malaise, and I walk here and there. The podiatrist says, "Oh, yeah?" And the moth goes, "Yes." And he goes, "At night, I sometimes wake up and I turn to some old lady in my bed that's on my arm. A lady that I once loved, Doc. I don't know where to turn to. My youngest, Alexandria. She fell in the cold of last year. The cold took her down, as it did many of us. And my other boy, and this is the hardest pill to swallow, Doc. My other boy, Gregorio Ivanilidovich. I no longer love him. As much as it pains me to say, when I look in his eyes, all I see is the same cowardice that I catch when I take a glimpse of my own face in the mirror. If only the cowardice was stronger, then perhaps I could bring myself to reach over to that cocked and loaded gun that lays on the bedside behind me. And in this hellish facade once
How long a drive was this? Do you live in the valley? Where do you live? Please, sorry.
He says, "Doc, sometimes I feel like a spider, even though I'm a moth, just barely hanging on to my web with an everlasting fire underneath me. I'm not feeling good." And so the doctor says, "Moth, man, you're troubled. But you should be seeing a psychiatrist. Why on earth did you come here?" And then the moth said, "Because the light was on."
That's an eternity on television. That is so long on television. Late night with Conan O'Brien. It takes you say, even Conan was getting uncomfortable because he's like, all right, Norm's being maximum norm here, and this joke's not going to come with an ending until I'm also uncomfortable. So good, man. Really good.